Welcome back to the True Geordie YouTube channel. Subscribe if you're new. Today we are talking Conor McGregor being found guilty after being accused of sexual assault by Nikita Khan in a court in Ireland. Now, for those that don't know, this was in a civil court, not a criminal court. In a criminal court, if there is reasonable doubt, you will be found not guilty. Whereas in a civil court, the way they decide whether you're guilty or not is basically what is the most likely outcome? Who is more believable? What scenario do I believe more? It's really quite simple. And in a criminal court, if you're found guilty, you go to jail. In a civil court, if they think you did it, you will pay the damages to the injured party, which is what's happened here. Conor McGregor is not going to jail. However, he will have to pay damages to Nikita Khan around £250,000. And look, this was a complicated case, right? I did a video on this going through all the details. And at the end of it, I was kind of thinking they might find him not guilty because of some of the things that she was saying that you were like, does that add up? Like, it was a really muddy, murky case to go through. This woman was out partying of an evening on a Christmas party. He was out at a DJ set and she's sending him pictures of herself, in her dress, clearly trying to get his attention while she's got a fella at home with a kid at home. She agreed at 6 a.m. to go with him to a hotel room while doing cocaine with him in the back of a car. Like, you've got a kid at home and your fella's waiting for you, and yet you're going with Conor McGregor to a hotel room. And it just was a story that had some inconsistencies to it, in my opinion. There was the CCTV footage of her in the elevator with Conor McGregor kissing up his arm, according to the reports I heard, and then kissing all over his mate as well and trying to get it on with him when he was showing no interest in her. Like, again, that's not the behavior of someone who doesn't really want to do anything. And actually, while the attack was supposed to be taking place, there was another couple in the other bedroom with the door open, like a few feet away, who were also having sex, who both said that she was absolutely fine and that nothing happened to her, and that after the, alleged event, she was behaving fine. There was no sign of anything. One of those people was a work colleague of hers who was a woman, a woman who was sided against her as well, like, just normally, like, you'd expect the opposite of that, And then the guy who was having sex with her in the other room claimed he had sex with Nikita after Conor McGregor did, and she completely denied that. Yet on CCTV there's footage that links that up where she's all over him. And how often do you get in cases like this where someone's claiming sexual assault and another guy comes forward and goes, well, I had sex with her as well? Like, just weird, just such a strange case. And then despite her saying she has no memory of that taking place and basically saying it didn't even happen, she also sued him and said that he also sexually assaulted her, even though she said she didn't think it happened. It's so confusing. And with all of that mess, it was just like, God, I don't know if they can actually say he did this. And she was saying, look, I was totally out of it. Like, they should have looked after me. But then they've got proof that she was texting her boyfriend, like, full-length paragraphs, lying to him, saying that she was having a great time and she was fine. And then when they'd show the CCTV and be like, well, why are you all over them? And she's like, well, I don't remember. But I remember all the other bits where it goes in my favor. This woman's testimony, I was thinking, I don't know if they're going to believe that. And when she got home to her partner after that night, he recorded the whole conversation with her, which to me shows a history of him not believing her. And apparently, I think he left her like 6 months later, which, if someone's been through something like that and you fully believe them, you're going to want to support them through it. And the fact is, he didn't. I mean, that doesn't really prove anything. I just think the whole scenario didn't look good. And she denied giving consent despite some of that evidence to say that possibly she did. Conor McGregor denied the injuries to her, saying he didn't do them, despite her being the one with the injury, saying it was you. Maybe it's possible they were both lying here to some degree. I don't know. Sometimes people in these scenarios go, the truth is somewhere in the middle. Maybe at the start she did give consent, but at some point it changed and it got worse and it got a lot rougher than she was ever anticipating. And maybe Conor did do those things. The issue for me with looking at this case is I wasn't in the courtroom. I can't hear the tone of voice from Conor, the tone of voice from Nikita. Who was more believable? I think that's massive. The fact that those injuries, the photographs of those injuries, I have not seen them. And I can only imagine for the kind of inconsistencies within Nikita's story to be there and then to still find in favor of her. Those photographs must be shocking. They must be overwhelming. And that's the context that when you're looking at the case in a soulless sort of way, just reading it, you don't get that impact that the jury would have had. And the medical staff also really seemed to help her case as well by saying, like, I think one nurse said, like, it was one of the worst cases of bruising she'd ever seen in her life. The doctors were verifying a lot of what she had said, so that must have been powerful on her part as well. But I have to admit, I was surprised given the amount of inconsistencies in her story. But when you look at the jury, I mean, they had a hard job here. It was a complex case, and there was 8 women and only 4 men. And look, you've got to imagine Conor McGregor's reputation and all of his years of being an absolute prick didn't do him any favours in this scenario. And I think for years he's operated like, I don't give a shit, I'll do what I want. And this might be one of those moments where he thought, fucking hell, why didn't I just act like a better human? Because in this scenario, people's, preconceptions of you play a massive part on whether or not they side with you or not. And look, thank God it's not up to me to decide on something like this, because it's heavy shit, man, and it's fucking painful. And I kind of think now, looking at it, like, as we've got the verdict, either way, it's bad, this. Let's just say Conor McGregor is completely guilty of what she's accused him of, but hypothetically speaking, because I wasn't there, I don't fucking know, that would mean he's got away with something horrific for $250,000, which is a drop in the ocean to that man. No jail time, no nothing. That is not great for anyone, yeah? Like, you should do jail time for that sort of shit, if that's true. And if he's not guilty, and she has fabricated this whole thing, and I don't know, let's just say someone else did it to her boyfriend, or she did it to herself, or whatever. Let's just say devil's advocate, for example. This man has then had to pay $250,000 and has had his reputation ruined forever based on a lie. So either way, whether he's guilty or not guilty, this outcome is bad. It's not sufficient. Do you know what I mean? But that is the justice system. And fuck me. It's a shambles at the best of times, isn't it? Apparently, when the verdict was read, Conor McGregor was visibly devastated and absolutely broken in that moment. And it's almost hard to imagine that, because he never shows any vulnerability or weakness, or even just sort of a humble side of his personality. To imagine him like that is almost strange at this point, because of the way he's behaved over the years. And as much as I've said I don't know if he did this or not, this has been coming for Conor McGregor. This is one of several accusations of several different crimes that Conor McGregor has been alleged of in the last 5 years. This isn't a one-off, not even close. And look, of all the things he's been accused of over the years, this is now different, and I think he knows it. Regardless of all of the grey areas in the case and the potential of his innocence, all that matters is his headlines. That's what defines you when you're in the public eye. How many people are going to go through the entire case like that? No, they're going to look at the Conor McGregor guilty. And where he's been able to sort of brush off any criticisms in the past, this is a black mark on his name now. Before, when he'd go outside, he'd say people, yes, he'd know people would think he was a bit of a dickhead, but he could brush it off because, yeah, they're just jealous. They're just miserable in their own lives. I knock people out. I'm rich. I'm this guy. But now, for the first time in his entire life, people are going to look down on Conor McGregor. And that is a first for him. And for a man who is so in love with himself and is so, built by ego and what everyone thinks about him, that is going to be fucking hard for him to take. No matter how he plays off in the media, no matter how he tries to walk around with his head held high, it's going to be hard. No one's going to give a fuck about his watches, his suits, and all of that bullshit to the level that they used to anymore. He's going to know that people are judging him behind their eyes.
Mr. McGregor, you're a rapist. What do you think?
What do you have to say? Say sorry for what has happened?
Do you have any reaction or apology to the women at the centre of this? Do you have a reaction?
No, come on.
Do you have an apology to the women at the centre of this?
Fucking hell, man. Wow. I mean, think about that. That man just said it right in his face, as all of them did. You're a rapist. You're a rapist. You're like, bloody hell. That's with him forever now. And that is one of the worst things a man can ever be called. And as much as Conor has never shown any weakness throughout all the criticism he's had over the years, he's just brushed it off. You're all jealous. This is something that, look at the way they were on him. You can't ignore that. You can't brush that off. This is going to be brutal for his life. So Conor did put out a statement saying that he will be appealing the decision. The judge's instruction and the modest award given was for assault, not for aggravated or exemplary damages. I'm disappointed that the jury did not hear all the evidence that the DPP reviewed, and I am with my family now, focused on my future. Thank you to all my support worldwide. Interestingly, he seems to have deleted that now. And one thing that makes this case even stranger was this news story that came out right after the court case concluded, which is that earlier this year, Nikita Hand mysteriously was broken into by a number of men wearing balaclavas. Her now partner, not the guy who was with her at the time that this supposedly happened, but the guy who was with her now, tried to fight them off. He was stabbed in the process as they were like smashing the place up. I mean, fucking hell, people wouldn't be calling that too much of a leap to say that that might be classed as witness intimidation. I mean, fuck me. That is just mental. And look, is it possible that that was completely unrelated? Yeah, but fuck me. It doesn't look good, does it? And the comment below, this needs to be heard loud and clear. McGregor is the worst of us Irish people. He's not a hero. He is a total and utter gutter rat. Now, you know what? The Irish people from my mates from Ireland have been telling me like his stock in Ireland has been low for years. It's hit rock bottom now. Oh, it's hit rock bottom. And here Nikita Hand reads her own statement out herself.
So much strength and courage over the last 6 years throughout this nightmare to keep on pushing forward for justice. I want to show Freya and every other girl and boy that you can stand up for yourself if something happens to you, no matter who the person is, and justice will be served. To all the victims of sexual assault, I hope my story is a reminder that no matter how afraid you might be, speak up, you have a voice, and keep on fighting for justice.
And this is after 6 years of this alleged event taking place. She's persisted, she's gone to court, she's got her victory, and now she will feel vindicated, right? Obviously, she got a payout, but honestly, the payout was not the biggest amount of money in the world. I think this is more about, I'm vindicated here for her. And look, people will still say she's completely lying, and I'm not suggesting that when I say that there's inconsistencies in her story, right? It's just the way that the case is. I honestly think that her injuries that she suffered must have been brutal for that jury to look at the entirety of this case and still find in favour of her because of those inconsistencies. The evidence she had must have been very overwhelming. And it was interesting because the reporters that I was listening to from the case were leaning that way, even though when I was listening to them I was like, I'm unsure here, but they could see the pictures, right? So, and I think when you can see that, it must be the clincher for her, and now she can sort of finally move on with her life and put this behind her, because this has been a long time of her battling for this. And for McGregor, it feels like the battle's only just begun, because again, the money is pennies to him, but his reputation is absolutely in tatters. And McGregor's mental health has clearly not been in a good place for a long time. I mean, he's been clearly suffering with drug issues, and that was why me and him had a back and forth, because I pointed that out. I mean, Stevie fucking Wonder could have told you that this man has problems, and he couldn't handle someone pointing it out. And when he came at me and was insulting me, at no point did he say, actually, I don't have a problem. At no point did he say that. And a lot of that for me is just down to him not competing inside the octagon and not being able to fulfill that urge inside of him to be a competitive athlete. Now this, God only knows how this man might spiral. And that's not me feeling sorry for him before anyone thinks it is. I'm just looking at the fucking situation for what it is. And it's not just about his battle, really. It's his whole family. I mean, his parents have always seemed like really nice people, been very supportive of him from day one. They've been around him constantly throughout his career. And they've obviously been able to walk around with their head held high, proud of what their son's achieved, despite some of the criticism. Look, he made it out of Ireland. He's a fucking hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds in the bank. But they now will feel like people are judging them and their boy, and it's a cross to bear for the entire family. God only knows what his Mrs. D is going through, because she came to court, God bless her, to support him despite, the fact that this is happening, because he cheated on her. And she stuck by him through all sorts of shit. I mean, there's so many videos of this guy, pictures with other women. There's a mountain of them. She seems like a fucking good woman, her. And this must be bloody hard for her. I mean, obviously not as hard as the actual victim, because fuck me, God knows what she's been going through in the event that this is all, true again. You just look at a scenario and you just think, this is just sad. It's just terrible, isn't it? And McGregor now moving forward, you've got to wonder, how is this going to impact him as a businessman? Because despite McGregor being a complete dick for years, he's still been able to generate huge amounts of money because he is the most clickable man in fighting. And, the likes of bare knuckle FC maybe he's just invested in, you know, how will this affect that partnership going forward? Do they still want to carry on as if nothing's happened? Maybe, because, I mean, some people will just say, look, the guy's bringing money in. It's not a criminal conviction. We can just move on as if nothing's happened. But there are other business relationships which could be affected. For example, there's alcohol. You got to think, right? The Proper 12, the forged Irish Stout, people are already taking the piss out of him and going improper 12 and forced Irish Stout. That shit matters, by the way, like the branding of it. What if pubs are going to say, well, no, we don't want to sell his stuff anymore. He's been guilty of this, so fuck him. That might happen. This could hit him so much deeper in the pocket than his payout to Nikita. And even his UFC relationship, right? I mean, look, they looked the other way when John Jones did his thing, multiple things, fuck me. So you'd think that they'll probably, you know, stick by him. But it's not the press that you want around a company that's now owned by WME, and they're trying to clean their act up and be a nice, shiny, bright sports league now, rather than the group of fucking violent nutcases that they sort of used to be looked at in the wider public. As someone who was a huge fan of Conor McGregor back in the day, I mean, he was a genuine inspiration to me, and I remember looking at the things he used to talk about, you know, hard work and dedicating yourself and achieving your goals, and he used to be a great talker inspirationally for young men. And to see how it went from him winning multiple world titles and achieving all of his dreams, and us seeing that everything he spoke became real, and it was genuinely motivating, to now where it's gone, where he got everything he ever wanted and just became the biggest fucking arsehole possible. He went from being the person we all wanted to be like to the person that really none of us want to be like. The guy's just barely even capable of being a respectful human being now. You know what I mean? The amount of shitty things he said to people, all these arrogant tweets he puts out, and his just whole attitude of as if he's better than everyone else who walks the face of the earth. The countless accusations against him. Life has a way of, when people really need humbling, doing it in brutal fashion. And as I've said, McGregor might not be completely guilty of the exact story this girl has told. But regardless of the matter, this man has been a shit show of a human for a long, long time. And something like this was coming down the pipeline for a long time. I am not shocked in the slightest, man. He is his own worst enemy. And you think to yourself, this now, to have people speaking about you in such a low way and just disgusted in you, should be the moment where it's the ultimate wake-up call. It's the ultimate humbling experience of, fuck, I really need to change my ways, and I need to prove to people that I'm better than this, and I'm a better person than what they think I am. And honestly, I would be shocked if that happens, because I think he's just gone. I think he's too far gone. Jake Paul tweeted this out not long after the verdict came in. Dana hits his wife, Conor's convicted, but I'm the bad guy. And Conor replies, no, you're a little gay nerd with a laughing face. And I'm thinking, you're really just tweeting your way through this as if nothing's happening? Is that what we're doing, is it? At any point, are you capable of taking anything seriously and hanging your head in shame for a minute and just saying, what the fuck? Because, you know, the amount of pain this is causing, even people around him, at least have a bit of respect for that. You know, you look at the chaos that's become his life, you know, him slurring his fucking words, not even able to speak in some of these interviews for amount of gear that he's been on, and the violent scenarios, the multiple violent scenarios on nights out he's been involved in. And you just think, if this doesn't stop now, if this doesn't humble you now, where the fuck does this end up next? Because he's got people around him who've really looked after him in this scenario, his wife and his kids and his family and all of that. He needs to be putting into them and cutting all this bullshit aside from now on. Because as bad as this is, it's only going to get worse. And he's clearly not surrounded by good blokes, is he? Because, you know, this shit always keeps happening. And real mates would say, what the fuck are you doing, man? Anyway, this has been a massive, massive subject in the world of sport, and hope I haven't triggered anyone with the topics we've been discussing today. I know on the last video we had commenters, females there, respect to them, who were saying, look, did a good job. It's a rough subject to talk about, and they'd been through that sort of thing before. So, you know, my empathy to anyone out there who has dealt with this sort of thing. It's a brutal and horrific subject to talk about, and one I hope I don't have to cover any more on this channel, but unfortunately it is the news that we talk about. So anyway, I hope you have enjoyed my breakdown of this in some way and thought I was fair. Let me know what your takeaway was from this and what your opinion is of all of this now in the future of Conor McGregor. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, subscribe to the True Geordie YouTube channel, and I'll see you on the next one.